righty, welcome back to another edition of the Patterson Report podcast, everybody. We will figure out why our intro video isn't loading anymore. God, you take a 2-week hiatus and the wheels fall off. But again,
yeah, hopefully that's not the same for the Eagles after their week hiatus.
Yeah, apologies for the delay, but I don't think any of you were missing us the Thursday of Christmas Day. At least I sure hope not. And then last Thursday, Christ.
Oh no, I mean, be honest. Everyone was probably watching Stranger Things 2 weeks ago at 8:00.
Good point. Yeah, so
I had a couple of people skirt out of the family party a little early. I'm like, "Where are you going?" They're like, "We're going home to watch Stranger Things." I'm like, "I can't blame you."
Yeah, so did the Stranger Things series finale. I happened to be in Florida, so last Thursday didn't make too much sense either. But we're back to it this week. Couldn't afford to miss this one because seemingly against all odds at points in the season, I mean, we have an Eagles playoff game to talk about, and it feels. We'll get into this, but it feels different than a lot of recent Eagles playoff runs. I mean, it felt like the bar for the Sirianni Hurts era, except for their very first season together, was, how many wins this playoff or how deep are we going to get? And the bare minimum is kind of NFC Championship game. You expect to make it that far. The Super Bowl is the goal, and we've been very fortunate to be in positions to make it. But the expectation for me and for a lot of fans has always been NFC Championship game with this squad. This year, what's a little bit unusual is I can't tell you right now that I'm confident that we win this week. I'd be surprised if we make it through this wild card round. So it's a little bit of a different feeling heading into this playoff.
Yeah, I mean, I'll always root for the team. They're minus 250 right now on the money line, so I think Lane's playing because their odds have just shot up a little bit over the past few days, and I guess that's the only explanation that would make sense.
Yeah, I think we're up to a 4.5-point favorite, right?
Yeah, maybe that and Trent Williams, the combo of both. Because Trent Williams, he's not 100%. He's not going to be 100%.
No. So him out, us getting Lane back definitely helps, but I don't know. I have a weird feeling about this one.
Look, I love the team. I feel like whatever outcome happens this Sunday, I'm okay with. I want them to win. I'm going to root for them to win all game. But if they win one or two games and come short in the NFC Championship, they're going to run it back with this coaching staff. I don't think I could take another year of that.
You make a good point.
Sans Vic. I gotta point that out.
So you're thinking, you might have to bow out early for the greater good.
Look, there's a lot of good to great offensive minds available on the market that are coming available.
And what I wouldn't give to get Mike McDaniel in the building running the offense.
I don't think him and Vic hate each other, right?
I forgot about that. You're right.
Time in Miami. I mean,
you're right.
They could put aside their differences, see that they have a stacked roster, and just go for it. But when
you're right.
Openings, you're gonna get a head coaching job somewhere. I'm thinking more like along the lines of a Stefanski would be okay because reestablish his name as head coach. He's gonna be here for 2+ years. I think we don't need to talk about this. We can talk about this later. We need to talk about the game. I could get into the coaches, but that's where my head's at. I don't know where yours is at.
I'm thinking. I mean, I was kind of said where I was at. Although you cut out, so I might have missed it. But my expectation for this year is different. I'd be happy if they won a game. Like that's kind of where I'm at. Especially with San Fran's banged up too. I shouldn't say too. The Eagles are remarkably healthy. San Fran's banged up, but that's still an offense that can put up a ton of points. We don't have that. Obviously, Vic has pitched masterclass after masterclass all season, except for that Bears game. So, the defense is gonna give us a chance. I just don't think with this Niners team that 17, 20 points is going to be enough. When you look back at Buffalo, it's such a classic Eagles when they're bad win where, and I hated the rhetoric at the end where Sirianni was kind of talking smack about the win and all. Yes, did you win? Absolutely, but everybody that watched that game knew that Josh Allen missed the throw that he hits 9 out of 10 times. That's why you won that game. So just this idea of like being proud of that Buffalo win doesn't quite sit right with me, and it makes me worry about the tone in the building going into the playoffs. Where if you're resting on wins like that and you're not looking inward and realizing that they weren't necessarily earned, I don't know what this team's going to come out like.
Yeah, look, they had a couple of coast games last year. The Chiefs in the Super Bowl, the Commanders in the NFC Championship game. They're all going to be like that Rams game. They're all they're not going to blow any team out. It's going to be stressful from start to finish. But man, oh man, I totally agree with you here. I am a little bit more encouraged about the locker room, seeing what happened. I believe it was today. All the players were all happy. They're kind of partying a little bit. AJ Brown was leading the charge. I love that. So if these players are bought in, I'm all in because this is one of the most talented rosters in the league. And of course, Seattle's going to be a tough challenge if they have to go there. And of course, the Rams are going to be tough to beat again. Who we remember it took a miraculous 2 block kicks to beat them the first time. So
yeah. So that I think we're on the same page there. It's just this team has the talent. I think they're as talented, if not slightly more talented than they were last year. But they're not distant. They're not distancing themselves from these teams. And you go back and you look at. We were talking all throughout the Washington game. It doesn't have a bearing on the playoff necessarily, but it does point a giant shining spotlight on just how much this talent means to this Eagles team. You look around the NFL, and I'm always impressed with what Sean McDermott's able to do year in and year out with the Bills. You look at his weapons on offense outside of the run game, they're usually mediocre to average. Ben Johnson turned around a young but talented Bears team. You can go all throughout it. And you look at when you make Nick Sirianni and Kevin Patullo coach, take the stars out. You have good, not great role players and just make them coach. And there's some holes that are concerning. And looking at who we have to go through this, Kyle Shanahan's a hell of a coach. I think Nick's going to have circles coached around him offensively. Whatever Vic's able to do on defense is going to have to be enough.
Yeah, it makes me nervous for that kind of outcome. Have you seen the report that's getting leaked about the Niners injuries there by that facility? Well, I forget what it was. I have to look it up, but
I haven't seen it yet.
I don't want to go too far down that rabbit hole, but it's something. I don't know, but anyway, it's quite the game that's coming up this Sunday. I'm excited. It's hard not to be excited when you get playoff football. I said it multiple times throughout the year. This is the golden age of Eagles football. Enjoy it because Howie's not going to be around forever. Vic's definitely not going to be around forever. He's got what, like a couple years in him, maybe. Depends on how long he wants to coach.
Even if Howie's around too, you and I have said this from the jump. He's built this team aggressively to be the best they can possibly be right now. Now, to his credit, we've been saying that since 2018. Remember, he doubled down after that Super Bowl win. So he's done an amazing job at building a win now team for a long time. But we kicked the can down the road on a lot of contracts, and one day that bill is going to eventually come due.
Yeah, we've talked about this too as well. I like it. It's not how the Saints did it. The Saints just did it to do it, to try to compete. The Eagles have won Super Bowls, and the new TV deal is when Howie lined up all these contracts for us. So there's going to be an influx of money. So I don't think it's going to hurt the Eagles as bad, but the contracts on defense are coming. We talked about this too. You got Jordan Davis, you got Jalen Carter, you got Moro Ojomo, maybe, who's probably going to walk out the building at this point. Quinion, Coop. Nakobe Dean's probably walking out the door this free agency, honestly. So
'cause Jahad Campbell can do the job, and I love Dean to death. I think he's going to be great for this run because we're supposed to get him back. He could have gone last week if they needed him to, so he'll be back healthy. But he's just not healthy all that often, and it's unfortunate because God, when he and Zach Vaughn make up one of probably the best linebacker duo in football. But Jahad Campbell's not that far behind. I mean, his development's been really good. He'll be where Nakobe Dean is in relatively short order. And that's what that unit's going to have to carry the Eagles through. This is going to be if we go where we think we're hoping to go, and God, if there's ever a year for this Eagles team in particular who's not at their best to steal one, I feel like it's this year. The NFC, I think, is wide open.
Yeah, I just want to look at I'm looking at the Super Bowl price odds right now because I just want to. Because right now, I believe the Seahawks are the favorite at plus 380. I want to say plus 390. I was close. Eagles are fourth, plus 800. I was just gonna say if I were to price the last year's Eagles team in this field, it'd probably be like minus 110.
Yeah, we're in a different place, but
it happens.
One of a mutual friend, not a mutual friend, a friend of a friend, bet put $100 down at the beginning of the year to pick every division winner, and going into the Sunday slate this week, he had everything right, but he needed the Steelers game to go a certain way, and he needed Carolina to win their division. So he cashed out for $100,000. Had he not cashed out, his whole thing hit. He would have pocketed, $1 million pre-tax.
Ooh, that's tough.
I would be inconsolable.
I'd be inconsolable. Sometimes, after that Panthers game, it got really sweaty because they lost, and then.
Yeah, well,
I wouldn't. The emotions of that game, the last one.
The reason he did it was he was on a flight all day Sunday. So once Saturday ended, he couldn't bail. So he had to either not just do it right then or let it ride. So he couldn't wait until dominoes started to fall.
That's a tough outcome right there, honestly.
And he's still up $70,000. But he could have been up 600,000.
Yeah, that's the way she rolls with gambling,
Yeah, that's
devastating. It's been a heck of a year for the Eagles, and like you're saying, advantage birds. I believe they have the advantage. Definitely on defense. Too many injured stars with the 49ers. Fred Warner, Nick Bosa, they're going to miss dearly this weekend. And obviously, we saw that game against Chicago two weekends ago.
Yeah,
you got to keep up.
Yeah, they're not. Yeah, on defense, they're not. It's not close. Vic. That's what I've been saying. Though Vic is going to have to be spectacular because that's where our advantage lies. Offensively, I know they're banged up a little bit, but they still. George Kittle's still an issue. Christian McCaffrey is having one of his best seasons as a pro, which is a really, really, really high bar. I think he's at 2,300 yards from scrimmage this year. He's been a serious issue. Now, the nice thing about the way this defense is built for the first time in you and I's lifetime is we have ridiculously athletic linebackers. So there are matchups for Christian McCaffrey on this Eagles defense. Jalen Hunt can fly. Jahad Campbell's, he's a coverage linebacker. You see him 30, 40 yards down the field covering go routes. Nakobe Dean's a missile. Zach Vaughn's probably going to have his hands full. I'm assuming he'll draw George Kittle an awful lot, but when he's not, he'll be a good matchup for CMC. So, this team is designed to handle Christian McCaffrey, but he's still going to get his.
Yeah, and, further emphasize the point, Kyle Shanahan's faced Vic Fangio 4 times. In those games, his offense has scored 11, 6, 15, and 9. Going to be a tough out for the Shanahan offense here, especially if, I don't know. I think Brock Purdy's fine. He took that hit at the end of that Seattle game. I believe it was a stinger.
Yeah, his hand's still screwy, I think.
Yeah, I'm not too sure his stat. He's going to play, obviously, but I'm not too sure how 100% close to 100% he is.
It's worth noting, and I know we're looking forward, but you and I talked about this ad nauseum last Sunday, so I think it's worth bringing up again here. just how much of an apology that we all owe Vic Fangio primarily for questioning his judgment. And also Adoree Jackson, because you and I were on here publicly pleading for get Ja'Cory Bennett in there. We know what this guy can do. We saw the, albeit very limited tape out in Las Vegas. Give him some reps. Holy shit. By halftime, I was like, dude, Vic, I'm so sorry. We should have never doubted you. If that's what he saw in practice, I can't believe that he didn't throw him off the Walt Whitman.
Yeah, I mean, Kelee Ringo has the third most penalty yards in the league, I believe. And he's only played
and he hardly plays.
He played like a handful of snaps. So Coop and Quignon have single-handedly saved this team. They've already brought us one Super Bowl. They could bring us a second one. Like, they're so important. And Adoree Jackson, like you said, we owe him an apology because he's been improving.
Yeah.
And he hasn't been bad. So definitely nothing compared to what we saw last Sunday.
No, he's probably elevated his game this year to be a league average corner, which is good enough. I mean, especially opposite Q and then Coop kind of moving around much more this year as opposed to last. It's still a really good secondary, but God, yeah, when you're watching those two play, Bennett was getting tossed all over the place. Kelee Ringo didn't know what the hell was going on. I mean, that touchdown pass when he's facing the other direction, yeah, you never want to go full Nate Gary. Never go full Nate Gary.
Oh man, it's really tough out here. So it's so interesting to have a coordinator on one side that's so tapped in and knows like everything. Like, he didn't want to move Coop outside. We saw Coop outside against Dallas. Of course, those guys are elite, but
yeah,
he looked rough on the outside there. He said, let's keep him inside. Let's play Adoree Jackson outside. He's got a good pulse for that side of the ball and who's doing well. Marcus Epps has come in relief of Makuba, and he's looked great.
Yeah, he's been real. He's steadied that position in a big way.
Exactly. And Vic, pointed him out, played him, and he's been great. And then you have Kevin Patul on the other side of the ball, who won't give Tank Bigsby any touches to make the fourth quarter. It's insane. Did you see the Robert Saleh interview from yesterday?
Yeah, I thought that was interesting. The part about
Saquon.
Yeah, they kind of
what changed.
What he sees. He's like, I'd rather not answer that.
Well, why is he easier to stop now than he was last season? I'd rather not answer that question.
Yeah,
we know what the answer is. Everyone knows what the answer is, and it's.
And I've been seeing on Twitter. I mean, everybody's looking for someone to point the blame, and it's Philadelphia. I get it, but Stout's been catching some strays online, and
he has.
I know I've said on this podcast before, I say it all the time, like, I'm not a believer in the fact that these guys suddenly forget how to play, forget how to coach, etc. Stout didn't forget how to coach the O-line. Our O-line didn't automatically, overnight, go from, 3 out of 4, 3 out of 5, like, all pros, to, what we're watching right now. It's predictable. What the hell are they supposed to do when we're running into a stacked box? The reason that the O-line looked so great years prior, and the reason Saquon looked so great last year was you never knew what we were going to do. Kellen Moore kept the defenses on their toes. Now it's the same recipe. It's a run into a stacked box, a hitch route, and a go ball. I don't care. I mean, Jordan Mailata is a mountain. He's not going to be able to move a constant double team. Same thing when you have safeties creeping up, your linebackers creeping up. Cam Jurgens is getting destroyed, but I don't think this offensive line suddenly forgot how to play their positions. I think they're going up against a defense that knows exactly what's coming on every down.
Yeah, it's really tough to do that. And you look at some of the route combos. I haven't got a chance to dig into the All-22, but like when they show the sideline quarterback view, like the quarterback view head on, you're like, what are they doing? There's 3 receivers in one spot. Like,
that's this. Yeah, we talked about this. It was this. The booth did Tanner McKee a favor. I forget who was calling the game that week. But they're like, well, where's McKee supposed to go with this ball? And then they zoomed out and did that overhead cam. And you're right. You had 3 receivers in a 10-yard span of each other.
They need to do more.
Stupid.
They need to do more of that kind of stuff. I like that kind of stuff when they do that live. But it's just so tough with an offensive scheme of things. I do question, how quick the Super Bowl turnaround was. It was a long season last year. It's going to probably be another long one this year. Jurgens is playing hurt probably. Landon Dickerson we know is playing hurt. Lane Johnson's been off and on injured. I don't know what happened with Jordan Mailata. That's the one that's really kind of puzzling me. I don't know if he's hurt or not. I mean, he hasn't been the same.
Stuff though. He gets a lot of penalties this year.
Yeah, I don't know what's up. He's the one that makes me question because I look at the other three. Steen's been pretty much average. Like it's
fine.
tough.
We knew we were going to take a step back after Becton.
But Mailata is the one that I look at. I'm like, what happened? Because like I said, the other three could point to clear injuries at some point, either at the end of last season or this season, to why they're either not playing or not playing well. Mailata doesn't have that. I don't know. Like I said, is it the long season? Is it just a change in the NFL rules because he's getting all these holding calls that he didn't get before? I don't know what it is. I have to look into this, but he's the one that concerns me the most.
Especially when you consider the fact that at least myself and I think a lot of people looked at that Eagles O-line is when Jason Kelce left, it left a leadership void for sure. One that I think Lane Johnson filled quietly, but he's not the same personality as Jason Kelce. So it was one that everybody kind of assumed that Jordan Mailata would fill. And then, this year when Lane goes down, he really becomes kind of the captain of that O-line. And for him to have one of his worst seasons, it's puzzling for sure. It's concerning because it's the first time that he's really kind of been left completely on his own without Lane on that right side for this amount of time. I know Lane's missed time, but it's been games here, games there. This was the first long stretch where, Mailata had to anchor that O-line for, I think, 5 games in a row that Lane was out? And the fact that he just was so unable to do it, I still think Jordan's is an incredible O-lineman. He'll be fine.
Yeah, he's going to bounce back.
But it was a little bit disheartening to see that he didn't rise to that occasion.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's going to be fine. I think he's going to bounce back perfectly fine. He's an all-pro left tackle. It's just, like I said, it's confusing to see what happened to him compared to everyone else.
Yeah, I'm with you. This feels like a good time for our weekly shout-out to Fred Johnson.
Yeah.
He's been perfectly average, but for what we need him to be, average is far above and beyond what could be expected. I
didn't like that trade. We texted about that. I said...
You were against Fred.
Yeah, I was. I'll admit it. I was, I didn't like that one. I don't know if I liked the Tank Bigsby one or not. I might have liked that one a little more, but
I think in the moment you were on board because everybody assumed with a brain that he was going to become RB2, which was, oh God, yeah, you got
looks like it.
Yeah, and then he was going to be a really great compliment to Saquon because Will Shipley, there was such a huge gap, you almost knew that when Shipley was in the game, you didn't have to worry about the run. With Tank, I mean, he was a starter elsewhere. Now, I don't know if I don't know what Kevin Patullo was watching on a weekly basis in practice, but I mean, Bigsby gets 5 or 6 carries a game outside of last week, and he's got to be averaging over 5 yards a carry, and he can't buy time. I can't wrap my head around it. Even last week, he was the most efficient player on offense by a huge margin, and he didn't touch the ball in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, last week's the tough one because, other weeks you could point to, oh, we have Saquon Barkley. Okay, let's try to get him going. Okay, I understand that. But when you're playing the backups and Saquon Barkley's not there, you don't give the ball to Tank Bigsby. What are we doing?
Yeah, why did we go get him? We went out and saw
how he was right, though. How he was right.
He's a good fit. He should be here. We just don't use him.
We need a new offensive coordinator. I know it's been echoed throughout the Philly echo chamber, but it's worth echoing at this point.
Yeah, I get that the consistency for Jalen, and it's unbelievable how many offensive coordinators he's had. I mean, he's never had the same 0 seasons as freshman year at Alabama. But this guy can't be the one to buck that trend. We can't keep Patullo just for consistency's sake. He got the job for consistency's sake. And all he had to do was not be completely horrible. Like, we look back at Kellen Moore through rose-colored glasses. I would say Kellen Moore was a good to very good offensive coordinator. He wasn't great. He wasn't transcendent. He was pretty creative. He had his flaws, but
he's cooking in New Orleans.
He's trying to be a very good head coach for New Orleans, but he didn't blow anybody away last year. And we look back.
We wanted him fired too after that same.
Yeah, absolutely. But now you look back and you're like, oh God, remember the Kellen Moore days? How beautiful was that? That's how bad Kevin Patullo is.
Yeah, no more in-house hires.
No, I would. Honestly, I might take hiring away from Nick Sirianni.
I think you have to. I think you got to take that away. And I personally want a new head coach. It's tough, but
you'll never get it. He's too successful.
He's too successful.
I agree that he's probably propped up by his coordinators an absurd amount at this point,
and the talent on the roster.
Yeah, but we're stuck with them. We just got to hope and pray that whoever gets put in charge of hiring stops going in-house, because like you said, especially this year, there's so much offensive talent out there. I don't think Stefanski's the answer. I think he might be a head coach somewhere, but there's a ton of offensive talent floating around, and to stick with offensive coordinating for dummies is a real missed opportunity.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a real missed opportunity. You have so much talent, like you said, out there. I mean, especially for head coach, but we're not going to get in that because that's not going to happen.
No.
You have to hire one of these, I'd say, like guys that sort of like an offensive Vic Fangio. I don't know who he is in the moment.
Yeah, somebody who's a great offensive mind, maybe has 2 failed head coaching stints under their belt, and they're not going to get another shot at. Kind of like we had with Jim Schwartz at DC for a while.
I'd like Cliff. I'd like Cliff as offensive coordinator.
He could fit that bill. I don't know if he'll get another shot at running the team.
He might in a couple of years, but it's going to be a little down the line. And his departure from Washington wasn't like all good and whatnot. Dan Quinn wanted him to stay, and they just mutually agreed to part ways. Jaden liked him a lot. It's like the players liked him, the coaches liked him. He just wanted to leave. So
they had a good offense last year.
Yeah, and this year it was a bunch of injuries and whatnot. So there's so many names out there that could fit the billing. I think, like, you're right. Stefanski's going to get another job.
Yeah,
I think there's too many openings at this point. I mean, Brian Dable, maybe.
I would love Dable.
I think he's going to Vegas though with Flores. That's the rumors I've been hearing. But I know we have 2 minutes left, and I know we've talked all about the Eagles. But can we just mention the Phillies real quick? Have you seen the reports today?
Yeah. So for those of you who are living under a rock or have a healthy relationship with sports,
not us.
The Phillies are seemingly heavily interested in Bo Bichette. So there was, a little bit of smoke a couple days ago, and it's worth noting the Phillies don't leak things in general. So the fact that these reports are coming out lends me to think that they're deeper than the reports even allude to. But the Phillies have a meeting set up with infielder Bo Bichette, second base, shortstop, third base. You can play a little bit all of them in the coming days to come on and join the team in free agency. Now, what that would mean would be an abrupt stop to the JT Realmuto contract negotiations, an Alec Bohm trade, and an immediate Nick Castellanos trade, really without considering the return. You just need to get that money off the books to make Bo Bichette work. Why that's worth it is Bo Bichette's led the AL in hits on 3 separate occasions. I believe he's only 28. Yeah. So he's a young impact player. He provides coverage for Bryce in that lineup, which has been an issue forever. How they do it, we'll find out. If they get him, we'll find out. But he would be a massive, massive get for the Phils. And like I said, they don't leak things. Phillies generally tend to move quietly. So the fact that this is out there in the media tells me that these are very serious talks.
Yeah, Don Mattingly as the bench coach only just reinforces that. But I'm cautiously optimistic about this because there's a certain someone that's hitting free agency next year that I think might have to walk if we pay Bo Bichette the money. That's Jesus Luzardo. And I do not want to see that man walk at any cost. So
I don't know if they can afford to. I mean, that's next year. But again, another guy who this Bichette Domino guarantees is in a different jersey next year is Ranger Suarez. It's already likely, but not guaranteed. Bo Bichette would ensure that he is not a Philly next year.
Look, I don't know about you. I could cope with losing Ranger. I can't cope with losing Ranger and Luzardo.
I'm with you. That's why I think if this year, our dreams come true and you bring in Bichette, I don't think if you're Dave or you're John Middleton that you can afford to watch Luzardo walk out the door, because then, yes, do you add another impact that? Absolutely. At the expense of JT Realmuto and Alec Bohm, I think Bichette on his own overcomes those two, but by a narrower margin. If you take away your number 2 starter, then all of a sudden, you need more firepower again. And we're right back where we started. But for this upcoming season, if you still have Luzardo, you have, assuming Wheeler comes back, looks good. Nola is less of a train wreck than he was last year. Even year Nola, who knows? Maybe you're able to parlay Bohm into a half-decent catcher. You can start to see some things lining up for a new look Phillies team that might be worth talking about.
I agree. And, we all didn't want them to run it back. It looks like they're running it back, but this would be a huge change to that. And like I said, cautiously optimistic because pitching's where you win. And Luzardo looked absolutely dominant in the playoffs last year and don't want to lose him.
Dude, talk about overplaying your market. Like JT Realmuto, already the highest paid catcher in AAV in baseball. Whatever deal the Phillies put out there, he is balked at and said he felt disrespected. I love JT.
That was the last offer, by the way, he felt disrespected on. Yeah. I think that's the report. He probably felt disrespected on both. But if you felt disrespected being the highest paid catcher in baseball, I'm okay with leaving. I mean, he's been great, but
yeah, I think he's probably the best Phillies catcher you and I have watched. I mean, Chooch was beloved, but he's not JT talent-wise. But again, to your point, if I'm not going to spend even more capital on a 36-year-old catcher, and I think he was so certain that the Phillies didn't have a plan B a catcher. The fans, they couldn't afford to run it back minus JT, that I think he thought he was in the driver's seat. And credit where it's due to Dave, he said, you know what? You're about to save me a whole lot of money that I can go give Bo Bichette. And his fan base is going to go nuts. And he's absolutely correct.
Look, he made the one move that he had to with the old team, and that was getting Schwarber back. Because the fan base, if he somehow lost Schwarber, Schwarber wanted to be here, obviously. I believe it was the Reds offered him more money. The teams offered him more money. He wanted to be here. He gave a little bit of a discount, but if Schwarber would have left, we'd be calling for Dave's job right now, right?
Oh, yeah. Minus Schwarber with the offseason he's had thus far, absolutely.
We'd be calling for his job, 200%.
But if he lands Bichette, and I go back and forth with this with Dave, and I've done it live on this show with you. I think there's plenty of blame to go around. I don't think Dave has put together a bad ball club. I think every year he puts enough talent on this team to compete for a World Series. So I don't get that frustrated with him. Now, are there times I wish he would take bigger swings, or are times I wish he'd focus on the bullpen more? For sure. But I'll never accuse Dave of being cheap or scared or any of the above. He always puts a World Series caliber team on the field. This year, if he's able to pull off this Bo Bichette deal, and you look at now who Dave's brought in to the Phillies organization as GM, I mean, you bring in Trey Turner, you bring in Jesus Luzardo, you re-sign the key guys. I believe he brought in Schwartz. You start to look at some of the talent he's infused in. You bring in Duran. I love the Brad Keller deal. You start looking at Dave's tenure, and he's put a lot of talent in Philadelphia.
Yeah, I was just looking to see if he was around when they traded for Christopher Sanchez. I don't think he was.
No, because Chris did some time in the minors before he came up. I think that was still Clentac.
Yeah, I'm just looking just to make sure because I'm bad. Now it's 2 years after. But anyway, point aside, you're making good points here. It's great. I just wish we had a little bit more on the development side of players. You see kind of Alec Bohm plateauing. You see Bryson Stott plateauing. It's it's not on Dave, obviously. It's a little bit on Dave, but he's taking the swings. Like Duran was, we all wanted him to go out and get an impact closer. He did that and some. Duran was great. Obviously, it didn't work out against the Dodgers because, you know, it's the Dodgers, but it'll be interesting to see what we do with Bo Bichette because remember that lockout is coming. It's happening. We got one season to play. You know, all these guys avoiding arbitration. I feel kind of bad for with the 1 year deals because, you know, you're not locked into the money next year.
Yeah.
It's gonna be tough, but I think it's gonna be a good bit of no baseball next year.
I'm with you. So here's hoping that we get Bo Bichette, we win the World Series, and no one gives a shit because we'll still all be riding high. But
until I'd love to celebrate one for 2 years.
And until Sunday, I'm Brandon. That's Ryan. This is the Passing Report. Go Birds.